Well, I'm going to give you the latest update on the workshop clutter. This is August 2009, and this is the state of the workshop, the old shop, as it stands to this date. As you can see, there's still an awful lot of stuff in this shop. The equipment, test equipment, is virtually all gone. There's only one signal tracer sitting up there on the shelf. But I still got a lot more stuff to get out of here. And with my bad knees, not to sound like I'm complaining, but people have been asking me, when are you going to set up the shop? I've got records. 33 and a third RPM records. Stuff that goes back many years. I'm not going to throw these out. I got to move those. I got about 600 of them up here. Boxes of 45 RPM records. I'm not going to throw them out. I don't know what to do with them, but they got to come out of here eventually. As I had mentioned in my earlier videos, the shop has been set up in June of 1966. That's 42 years of accumulated stuff. And it's very difficult to get rid of everything all in one shot. This is my dad's 87K RCA console radio in pretty poor shape. Needs the whole front here, bezel and dial and everything else. My dad bought that in 1957 at a yard sale for $3. I was only about 13 years old at that time. So, keepsake, as bad looking as it is. Out here in this back room here was all my vacuum tubes. I had several thousand of them. I sold them all last year. Literally, they're all used. So I don't have any more vacuum tubes. So this is where I stand right now. And unless I can get about 10 guys up here to help me clean this out, and I can't afford to pay them, I'd give most of my stuff away. This is a tape recorder I bought quite a few years ago. The only reason I use it's a non-capstan drive tape recorder. And this tape that's on here is the only voice recording I have of my dad's voice, made about 3 months before he died in 1963. The recorder that it was made on was a Lafayette, similar to this, which I no longer have, non-capstan drive also. So it takes a non-capstan drive tape recorder to play back a non-capstan drive tape. I had modified this so that the heads are directly hooked to this jack, and all I do is plug this into the microphone input of a tape recorder that I was using at the time to transfer this over to cassette. Over here is 2 speed controls. This is the original speed control. And this here is an added one I put in. This changes the motor speed. So as the tape changes speed, I can compensate it with these 2. Not a very good system because there's an awful lot of wow and flutter in this thing. You can't help it. You're not controlled by a capstan. You're controlled by the amount of tape that accumulates on this take-up reel here. And the more tape that goes on this take-up reel, the faster the tape pulls through the heads. So you have to adjust it because no 2 of these tape recorders are exactly alike, especially different brands. It's all governed by the tape size and so forth, and the motor speed and all that happy stuff. Here's another one of these non-capstan drive tape recorders. I bought this at Kresge's back in the 1960s. I was doing some modifications in here. This was my earlier attempts at trying to take my, well actually it was in the middle 60s after my dad died. because my dad died in '63. I tried to do something with this to get the tape to transfer over, but I later come out with a better system, which I showed you earlier on the video, of using the speed controls. This don't have the speed controls on it. Wow. Still got batteries in it. Well, I know it has batteries, but I didn't realize they were any good. The original battery holder is gone, so I had to solder them in. This one here is an electronic bird. Chirp, 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 chirp. And then different capacitor electrolytics to change the time constant. And I built this about 1975, 76 also. Again, when I was able to see these little tiny things. Holy mackerel! The battery's still good! After all these years! That is something. The battery's still good after all these years. 1977 I built this thing. This here I built in 1976. Simply a transistor radio chassis, 9-volt battery, a relay, filter capacitor. What this does is, it's a regular radio receiver, but I used to send, used to have a transmitter that went with this. It simply is a little transmitter that would send a signal out, a modulated signal out, picked up by this. That modulated signal, the earphone was to pick up the sound of the tone, so I can hear when it's on after it's set, and you would pick up through these relay contacts here. This goes to the relay. This would control something, remote control. So in other words, if I needed to turn on something from a remote location, this would be at the location where I would have whatever I want to control. Then there'd be a transmitter that I'd key, a wireless type of thing, that would send a tone out to this amplifier, or receiver I should say, which is a regular, and there's the monitor there, that's the earphone. It'd be a regular transistor radio. You can see the chassis in there, it's a transistor radio. And the relay board here, this is back when I had good eyesight and I can work with these things. I don't deal with this stuff anymore. This is one of these cheapy transistor radios, and I converted it over to a transmitter. And this was used as a tone. It would send a tone out, which would key this that I showed you earlier. This little jewel here I built back in the very early 1970s. It's a simple shocker. 4D cells, an audio output transformer with the primary using this little motor in series with these batteries, gives it the breaker action in order to send pulsating DC to the transformer. The secondary, of course, is hooked here, and it was used as a shocker, and I used to play a lot of practical jokes on people. They didn't appreciate it. I wonder why.
You've got mail. You've got mail.